Today you're going to be learning about counterclaim. What is a counterclaim? Well, when you are in an argument, it makes sense to address the opposite side of what you are arguing and point out why that view is wrong. That's a good argument, and that's a counterclaim. So you're going to anticipate what the other side says and prove them wrong. For example, say I claimed that, although they are traditionally seen as a distraction, students should be able to bring cell phones to school because digital literacy can be used for educational purposes. So say I'm writing a paper that I prove that cell phones should be used in school. Okay? What would the opposite side of that argument say? You have to try to think of it. And it helps if you pair up with someone who's kind of against you. Well, students should not be able to bring cell phones to school because they could use them to cheat during a test. I think that's what someone opposite me would say. So what I have to do in my counterclaim is prove that particular statement wrong. So the statement that students are going to use them to cheat, I have to prove that wrong with evidence. So I write, although there are risks associated with allowing students to have cell phones in school, with proper regulations like collecting them on test days, the benefits outweigh the risks. So I say, no, they're not going to communicate during a test because we can collect them on test days. Okay? And then I brought some evidence from an article, which you'll bring evidence from the Anne Frank play. Okay, so let's get another example. See if you can come up with one. You should have the same sheet as me, and you can write right under this. Come up with a counterclaim for, although eating a balanced diet is important for growth, the new regulations on school lunches are not providing enough nutrients for some students. So you guys know what I'm talking about with the new lunch rules where you're supposed to have a fruit and a vegetable and whole grains and less fried things. So if I'm a student, I can claim that is not enough food for me. That's my claim. Can you come up with what the opposite side might say? What is something that someone who likes the new school lunches, what's something they would say? Write it down underneath there on your paper. You can pause the video. Try to do it on your own before writing what I write. I'm going to write the new school lunches provide healthy choices like fruits and vegetables. Okay? So if I'm pro new school lunches, that's what I write. Okay. My counterclaim is where I try to prove that wrong. Okay. So I have to go back and prove that this is wrong and this is not helpful for students. So I say many students do not eat the fruits and vegetables and are left hungry. Okay, so it's kind of like a back and forth kind of argument here with counterclaim. So let's go now to the second sheet, and you're going to be filling out this whole thing. So you're going to think of a claim for each of these issues. And you're going to think of what the other side would say, and then you're going to prove it wrong. So school uniforms. Students should not have school uniforms because it takes away freedom of expression. Okay? What would the opposite side say? Okay? Students should have uniforms because they encourage equal treatment. So if I'm arguing with someone who thinks that you should have a school uniform because that means everyone is going to be treated equal, how can I prove that wrong? That's what you'll do in your counterclaim. Okay, so I would say no matter what, students will be bullied and uniforms won't change that. Notice how in my counterclaim I directly address the reason that the opposite side says. So the opposite side is talking about how if we have uniforms that it means everyone is going to be nice to each other. So I have to prove that particular issue. Okay? Okay, let's try the next one. Smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is bad for your health. You can't really argue with that, but some people do. I mean, you can think about what someone opposite that would say. They'd probably say, I don't know. It's hard to come up with an argument against smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is a good way to reduce stress. Okay? So come up with something easy. That's quite easy for you to come up with an argument against. Okay, you do that one on your own. So remember, you're directly addressing a good way to reduce stress. How can you prove that wrong? How can you prove smoking cigarettes is not the only way to reduce stress? So write something in your box here. Okay, you can pause the video now and do that, and then when you're ready, move on to the third one. So make a claim about video games. So I'm going to say video games cause students to be lazy. What would someone opposite me say? So maybe you like video games and you can think of a reason. So think of a reason why video games are good, and then try to go back to the opposite side and prove that wrong. So basically for your homework, you should have this whole chart filled out and do these on your own. Okay? And then later in class, we're going to be basically filling out this part. Get these out of here. Sorry, next class we're going to be filling out this chart. You're going to have your claim about Anne Frank, think of what someone else would say, and then prove them wrong. So come to class with this whole chart completed, and you'll be ready for the next step.